Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Automating the Trades. This is the second episode in our series where we at the Graphite Lab are going to go through some problems that some of our customers, as well as other trades businesses, have run into and walk through how to solve them live with you. We are here with Jacob Nolly, who is our CEO and founder, and I'll be running through a list of some of the problems that we've run into and how we think would be the best way to solve them. I'll just start going down the list if that sounds good to you, Jacob.
Awesome. Yeah, excited to hop in.
Perfect. For the first problem we have here, someone submitted, they said, hey, I'm trying to keep track of all the reviews our techs are getting, but I'm struggling to organize the data. I need a spreadsheet where every review is listed and matched with the tech if they're mentioned. On top of that, I need a pivot table that I can use to create a leaderboard on our dashboard showing how each tech is doing based on their reviews. That's a lot, but does that make sense, Jacob?
Yeah, absolutely. So this problem
Perfect.
is super cool because this problem is using a lot of different tools. So one of my first thoughts that I would continue to follow up with the customer on is what are our reviews sourced from? Are we already aggregating reviews into an existing tool? Are we wanting to set up the aggregation of these reviews? Is this something where are we trying to review providers? Or are we just trying like a Google or a Yelp, or do we have an internal system going? But once you nail that down, that's the first piece of this puzzle. It's like, really, what are we working with? In today's example, when I walk through it, I'll just assume Google. That way it's easy. And then the second part of this puzzle that's really cool is the customer wanting to really be able to leverage multiple tech stacks. So we have this automated piece where we're like pulling stuff in, but we also have this native spreadsheet piece as well. Spreadsheets are really cool because it basically allows us to build fairly rudimentary, but pretty complex solutions to things, really in a way that's very approachable to most small businesses. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. One of the reasons Google Sheets is really cool, whenever a customer says spreadsheet, often in the skilled trades, the first thing that's thought of for the vast majority of customers is Excel. But one of the major problems with Excel is it doesn't really play well in the cloud space. They do have an Excel cloud version. It doesn't have half the capabilities because it has always been really built for a desktop context. And so what I always try to do, especially if customers are trying to leverage some kind of like automation or aggregation tool, I often try to push them to Google Sheets or like an Airtable because it does allow really good cloud capabilities. So in this situation, we'll be using Google Sheets. In addition to that, what we're going to be leveraging is Zapier. And Zapier is a really cool tool because it allows us to set up really easy and manageable automations between over 6,000 different automation for different software stacks, which is really cool. The first thing we're going to want to talk about is aggregation. So one of the cool things about Google is it actually has a Zapier app. So if you go to Google My Business, as long as you have access to your Google My Business account, it's Google Business Profiles, how they have it listed. Basically, one of the cool things that you can do is anytime there's a new review, we can pull it in, which is really awesome. So basically, what our Zapier would be is a new review comes in, and we post those details into our Google Sheet. Let's set up our Google Sheet. So this sheet is going to have two major components to it. So the first major component that we're going to want is our reviews. And this is basically like the live stream of reviews that we've got going on inside of our sheet. The second tool that we've got here is our actual technicians. And so our technicians are really important because we're going to need a place to store our list of technicians and be able to easily query against it. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to have a table for technicians with technician ID, the technician name. This is going to basically allow us to store our two technicians. And then the cool thing here, what we're going to do is set up our reviews. So the thing that we're going to want to do is we'll do review name, reviewer, score, we'll call it rating, so it's more in line with Google, and then we'll do text. And basically what we'll do is this is just going to be a raw sheet where we dump stuff in. And so what I'm going to do is I don't actually have a Google My Business account set up right now. I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to look up HVAC near me. We'll just grab any random HVAC supplier. So we've got this Generation 3 HVAC. There we go. And what we'll do is just grab one of their reviews. So here we go. We'll nav this and we'll say it's a 5. Give them a 5. We'll grab that reviewer. So it's Beverly Davenport. And then the review name is basically just the actual ID value. And the reason that we're going to store that review name inside of here, it's something that Google Business Profiles actually gives you when you're setting it up. The cool thing with that is we can actually then have a direct link to that Google My Business review. So if you wanted to go respond to it or something like that, or you wanted to use one of the Graphite Labs autoresponder tools, what we want to do is now that this is in here and we've got this all sorted, we'll go ahead and do a little bit of cleanup so it looks nice. And what we want to do is basically set up a second zap. So this first zap, it's basically going to get a review from Google My Business, and it's going to dump it into Google Sheets. But the second problem that they flagged is technician. How do we know which technician this is associated with? And this is the big problem that we're trying to solve for. And so this is actually a really cool use case for generative AI, because basically the text, Google has no idea who Stan, who's referenced here, is in our database, or if I have multiple Stans or whatever I'm doing. So it doesn't have a lot of context to be able to know, especially what if somebody spelled a name wrong or something like that. It doesn't have a lot of context to be able to effectively map a piece of text to a technician. And so one of the ways that we can do this is with generative AI. So let's say I have technician ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have Stan listed. One of the things that I can do is whenever a new review is passed in here, I can use one of our Gen AI tools. The Graphite Lab has several of them to basically compare this review, get all of the technicians in the list, and then compare this review text with the technicians and pick which one it most likely is. And then would respond with the row that it most likely is and do the mapping. And this is really effective because then this allows us through generative AI to basically categorize these to the right person as best as we can when we're basically taking this very unstructured data and turning it into structured data, because that's really the goal of all of this. So let's say we map this to Stan after we do that comparison, because the Zap basically will pull in all the technicians from this list by adding technicians here, then pulls in a fresh list, and then does a comparison between the two. The cool thing here is now if we want to do a pivot table, it's as simple as just building a pivot table off of this review sheet and using the technician and then their reviews and then the date. But really, these are some of the major concepts that we're working with. It's like, where are we getting our data from? How are we taking unstructured data and turning it into structured data, with Gen AI being a really positive way of doing that? And how are we basically making these workflows up so that it very effectively allows us to display the insights that we're trying to gain from these workflows?
That's really cool. I can see a ton of ways that use case could be helpful. Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining episode 2 of Automating the Trades. If you are interested in implementing any of these apps in your business or anything similar, getting eyes on your technology, on your automations, be sure to reach out in the link in our description. We'd be happy to chat with you.